Well, hello. We're back to another day. Um, we finished last time was we set up the game dev, got the game manager and the UI manager working. We got our first ship, then we have resource objects showing up, and we are able to mine those resources and update the UI on all that. Today we're going to create a resource manager that manages the resources. Our UI is just going to tie in whether there's an asteroid or not there. Um, but I want to create a manager for it, so eventually we're going to have different types of resources coming in, and it decides what asteroid we're going to be looking at. We're also going to create an iShip interface, so instead of doing an abstract class, what I was thinking about, I'm just going to do an interface for it. And in the interface, we'll have the iShip health interface inside of it, and I'll show you how that works. We're also going to create a miner interface so that we can start mining. This comes with a challenge because we don't want to type sniff in fleet. So when the fleet is going through and managing the I ships, it doesn't know that one's an I miner. And we don't want to type sniff for this. So we're going to have the class of the miner deal with the mining, but how does it know where the asteroids are? Because the resource manager is inside the miner, so how do we have the scope? And I'll show you what I think is a good solution. Probably not the best solution, but it is a solution. And it's going to set us up to extend later when we have different types of classes, and we just don't want the fleet to be type sniffing. So we'll get into that. The miner will start harvesting the resources instead of just having the timer. And then we're gonna work on being able to create the other ships from the mothership. So we'll figure out how to do that. And then we need to make sure that the miner stops harvesting, that they're scanning. There's some time to recalibrate to the next asteroid. We'll probably give some bonus resources every time they finish an asteroid, so that you want to do that. So I think this is what we're going to work on today. Next time, hopefully, if we get all this done, we'll start working on crew management and moving around, which is basically the main part of what we're going to be doing for the incremental side of it. So I did create a class structure for a flowchart, or a class diagram of where our current code looks like. And see if I can bring it up real quick. Here we go. So we have our game manager, which is in the center. It has two references to game and manager. And the game is where all of our simulation is. Right now there's not much going on. There's an asteroid. We're about to get rid of this. We have a fleet, a mothership. There's not really much going on the mothership besides just health and being displayed. Make sure that our UI is working. We have a UI manager, which manages the info bar and the fleet UI, and then the fleet UI has the ship. One of the things that you can really get yourself in trouble with Unity is having all of your UI constantly update every frame, and that just kills cycles. And, update asteroid UI resource. These only fire off when the simulation changes, when it tells it to. And the simulation is very, very CPU efficient. It's just math and calculations. So this goes very fast. It's the UI updates that can take forever. So the only place that has an update is here on the game manager, and that just passes time to the simulation. So that's basically where I want to do here. This is pretty much all the UI we're going to be dealing with for now. I think on the ship UI we might add a button to create the simulation part. So that's where we're going to be here, and we'll start with the resource manager. So also, yesterday I forgot to save the scene, so we're going to have to recreate it from scratch. Luckily, that's really not a big deal. The UI is the difficult portion, or the scripts are the difficult portion. So let's go ahead and go back through. We want a window manager, and we're going to fill this here. And this time I'm just going to, we're just going to delete these for now. So here and here. I just want example 1, and we can delete these. Don't have a reference to any of that stuff. This is going to be I'm not going to delete the icons for now because there's some other. We're just going to make this transparent though. Okay. Handle all of our ships for now. Later on, we're going to create a grid, and this is going to be on the left side. We're going to delete the title, and we're going to delete all these items. We're going to put our prefab here, so it still shows up in the. Now we need to put our scripts in. So we need to create a empty. This is our scripts for the game manager and the UI. So go ahead and put this here, and give a reference to each other. We're going to put the, and then for the fleet UI goes here. We just need a panel. It's going to go at the bottom. Let's give it a. We're going to create some text. That was the wrong one. Okay, so this is the asteroid label, or no, resource label. And we're going to put it all the way over here. I think so. This is going to say resources. And let's make this 30. Let's get back to the game. Alright, so I think I'm going to put the fleet, the resource manager, inside of the fleets. I can't really think of a reason why anything else but the fleet would care about the resources, and I want it to be on the same scope as the fleet, because I don't want to be passing down things from the game to the fleet, or they just have the fleet kind of have access or scope of the. I don't think I really want this. I don't. I think the resource manager itself can really handle what it is that an asteroid is. There's only going to be one asteroid at a time being thing, so it's basically, is there an asteroid, is there not, which it's not a class. And all this stuff can easily be done on things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, I'm going to copy it out, and then we're going to put it here in the resource manager. We do want this because we are going to be letting the UI know resources change, and I'm probably just going to put a scroll bar underneath it. Or sorry, like a slider. No, not a slider. A scroll bar underneath here. It shows how much is going on here, and then maybe not the number of resources. So to do that, we just need the percentage of resources left. Is the big thing that we need. And then we have a mine. and that's fine. Okay. All right, so we have two problems here. We get the game, which is trying to. So we're going to be moving this part into fleets. So let's go ahead and set that up here. So we have a resource manager, public resource manager. Let's just call it ARM. We named it, but it's fine. We're going to take the. I'm going to check this. This is going to fleets. Game, okay. So we have on resources change. Did we fire this before? So we have it twice. It's very odd. Oh, okay, so we have the asteroids resources changed, and then we have the fleet's resources changed. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a fleet resources. And when we create it, let's go ahead and say fleet resources is equal to 1,000. And then on the game, and then the chest, if we have, let's go ahead and put 5, and then let's see, 5 resources. This actually the resource manager, so alright. Okay. Should fix that. So for here we're going to need a fleet or a resource manager. Okay, and then we're going to register to the fleets. And we're going to register to the fleets. Great class. Does anything have a reference to it? We do have a reference. Okay. This is all taken care of. We have to deal with that in there. We're good. Okay. So we're going to start the game with insert an asteroid to be equal to true. And we're going to create the resources here. So mining strength here, return mining strength, current resources. Okay, so what happens when there is no, once the asteroid is deleted? So we're going to create another public event. Because we don't want to test for this in the UI. We never want any states in the UI. We always want the simulation to be telling the UI what to do. So asteroid exists. So here we're going to have this, and then we've passed the resources. On resources change current resources. So we need to return the mining strength to here. So that's happening. But if the current resources is equal to, is less than or equal to 0, we want to fire off asteroid exist, invoke false to is there an asteroid equals false, and then we, the fleet know that we had that. So another thing is that if current resources is less than mining strength, we need to return current resources instead of mining strength. So it's because we can't have, um, like if we have 23 current resources and mining strength is 25, we want to send 23. We don't want to send mining strength. So let's see. Let's see. Um, and resources to be collected. And if current resources is less than mining strength, then resources to be collected is equal to current resources. Else resources to be collected is equal to mining strength. And then we return resources to be collected. Simple. And let's see if we can make that look a little bit better. Yeah, that works. That's what I really like Writer for this. It cleans up the code, makes it a little bit better for all that stuff. Okay, so we're invoking here. So let's make sure we deplete this. Let's put this at 100. And we need the info bar to register to that as well. So we need a method for it. So private void update asteroid UI when asteroid depletes. This is going to take a boolean test, and then asteroid.text is equal to no asteroid. We're going to register to it. And that should handle that. So sometimes if we wanted to load the game or something from an update, it might not be there. So this is something we need to fix later on. For now, we're just going to keep it there because we're starting the game at 1,000. Let's go ahead and see if it depletes. Okay, so we have 100. Every 5 seconds we should be depleting. And when we hit 0, this should hit 25, and this should say no asteroid. There, perfect. And then if another thing we need to change is if we're mining, where's my timer at? I guess the fleet's mining, huh? Yeah, so if is there an asteroid equals false, then we're just going to return 0. And that shouldn't break anything. It'll still update and fire off this event, but nothing will come up because the fleet register will only be updated to 0. And we should also probably do the thing where this only fires when this actually changes, but this would actually fire it off. So let's go make sure that nothing is. We're still not collecting resources after the asteroid is done. and then we'll start working on the miner. Okay, no asteroid. And this would be the time when I'm gonna have miners recalibrate. Manager's gonna be handling all that. We're just gonna be linked into resource manager. It tells the fleet, hey, you got resources. So that is what we're gonna do. Okay, so first off, we need to create another interface. I'm gonna create two interfaces. We're gonna create the generic ship one, and inside here is gonna be everything that a ship is, and one of them is iShip Health. All ships are going to have health. So we're going to have the interface inside of an interface, which I think is going to be a fine way to do this, instead of creating an abstract class for it. So, and then we're going to create the iMiner now. And this will be the special ability to mine asteroids, though. It's going to be inside of the miner, because the other ship is not going to be a miner. So let's go ahead and create these interfaces. And I'm going to close down a few of these UIs. For now, we're not going to be looking at UI at the moment. Okay. Let's look at our iMiner and our ship. Let's get the interfaces over here so I still know where they are. Not like that. So, okay, I didn't want to close that, but I just want the interfaces over here so I can look at them. Okay, so we have a current health and a max health. So I guess, I mean, this is, we're going to have to be setting this eventually once we do damage, but it's fine. Okay, so the miner here, this is an interface, and it's not a mod behavior. And the iShip is mono behavior, not a mono behavior. Health, it's not a variable, it's a class. Can I just do that? Ship health. Do I have to say interface? Do get set? There we go. Okay. So the iShip will have a ship health. Later on, we're going to add things to this interface. It's all going to have a public update, public void update that is going to be taking a float. So that is going to be a part of the iShip health, which already is here. So we're going to add this. So instead of iShip health, I'm going to say it's iShip. And then instead of this, here, we're going to, it's going to be part of the interface. And then inside here, oh, okay, so we also need to create a class. I was like, what am I missing? So in the fleets, we need a, let's just create the class here. We need a ship health class. So this is going to, so you can't just instantiate an interface. If you're going to have a interface reference, you need to have a class that it's attached to. So we're going to put all that stuff inside of a ship health class. And then we're going to attach that. So this is part of I ship health. And then implement the missing members. Yes. And that is what we're going to be registering to here. And then we're going to take this, and we're just going to copy paste it. Wrong one. This goes into ship health. There we go. So every time this is fired off, we're going to register to that. So for the mothership here, instead of this stuff, we're just going to have the ship health. So, and this is here. And then we're going to be able to set the ship health. Alright, so we have to create a class for it. So we're going to have to new it up. So let's go ahead and create a constructor. Actually, let's just copy paste this constructor. And this will go here. And it tells it how much health it has. Let's go ahead and pass that information to it. So floats, float starting health. This is not going to care what that health is. And then we're going to create a constant for each type of class, because the ships are going to create a ship health in its constructor, and it will pass it on. So now this is all agnostic. None of it doesn't care. Okay, let's look at the mothership. So when we create this, we need to create a constructor for it. So public mothership. And we're going to need a new ship health. Equals new ship health. And we're going to pass in 100 for the ship health. And then we're going to register, the UI needs to register to the ship health instead of the here. And then when we're in the fleet, it's not a mothership anymore. What we can do is create a list. So the fleet will be basically a list of ships. And then player fleets, let's say. So let's go ahead and get the missing references. So instead of here, we're not going to contain that anymore. We have a player fleets. First off, we need to create a player fleets, a new list, instantiate the list, and then we're going to player fleet dot add a new mothership. And now, when we're going through time pass, we just, for each ship and player fleet, we're going to ship.update time passed. So now it will iterate the list. We can, and every time we add something to our fleet, we just add it to our player fleet here. We are going to need to update the UI. so that it adds to the so that it's attaching to the ship health instead of the fleet UI. So when the fleet UI comes in, we need to pull a how can we do this? I guess we're just going to have a name field for it. So let's go into the iShip interface and let's just create a, for now, a string of the ship name. And then this is going, the ship name is going to be to mothership. Alright, so in the fleet UI, we're going to pull a ship. And we don't have this specific one. So we're going to basically need to initialize for each. I mean, there's only one ship. Just fleet dot player fleets. Oh, did I not? Nice. Fleet dot player fleets. Let's just put in 0. So the game should be initialized first. I should. This is my ship. Let's go ahead and just change this. It's going to be the sh dot ship name. This is going to be the ship health, current health, ship health dot max health. This is going to be the ship health dot ship heal change. And that should be good now. And we don't have an iShip health, we have an iShip. And this is ship health dot ship health change. Okay, and that should be good now. Why is this here twice? Luckily I didn't call it, so it's fine. Let's go ahead and do register to ship. And let's do ship health. This is just the ship. Alright, I think we're good now. So it should still, oh, no we're not. Oh yeah, we don't need to pass them on the ship anymore. Just play the player fleet. And really, we just need to iterate through the list of fleet. When we do that, this was probably, let's just do that now actually. So for each iShip ship and fleets dot player fleets. I'm gonna do all of this. Okay, much better. Much cleaner, I think. We also don't need to do this. There's actually an overload for this, so we're good there. So this overload here will automatically set the parent to whatever you ask for it. So then we just change the scale. I think we're good. Let's go ahead and change this to var like it wants to. It doesn't like my naming conventions. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're clean now. And now that we have the interface for the ship, we can create a miner. Just make sure everything is working as intended. Mothership's here, 100, 100. Like what does a miner have that, I guess, really the only thing it has is, let's go ahead and open this up and see what we need. First off, this is a ship. Let's go ahead and create the missing members. And then we need a ship health. So public miner is ship health equals new ship health, and let's give it 50 health points, or 25. Okay, so we have a ship health, and that's all working. And then, like, if I created if I went in the fleets, so it has a fleet dot add, right? So let's say if we just added a new miner. Okay, we don't have a miner name. Forgot to change the names for it. So in here we have the ship name. So ship name is equal to miner. So it's pretty easy to add ships with code when you have this set up. So you don't have to go through a bunch of stuff with interface. Interface allows you it's looking for interfaces. So as long as you have everything set up here, so we have a miner here. Okay. We need the mining code that's in fleet basically to go here. So part of the mining time is going to be, we have a public floats of mining timer. For now, we're just going to put get set, and we have a mining timer and a max mining timer. So we get a percentage, and we also know what it resets to. And then we have let's say calibration time, so floats recalibration timer, and then we'll also have a max recalibration timer. So this is the amount of time it takes for it to start mining the new asteroid. And this is something we can upgrade. So an asteroid comes in, they're mining we need a mining strength too. Public float mining strength. And then we're going to have see, the problem is like the mining, I don't really want it to be part of the interface. There's nothing really going to be, it's like it's an internal part of the class. It doesn't have to be there. I do want to delegate though. Right. So a delegate, basically, the idea I had to deal with the um, resource manager is I wanted to encapsulate this and pass it off to the miners. So basically, what the fleet is going to do is we have a delegate. It's going to pass the this delegate to any miners. But the problem is the fleet doesn't know there's a miner. Because in here we just have I ship. If you look at here, there's no, it's just new mothership, new miner, and this is definitely not something we want to put here. We want to put it. We want to change the newing up of these specific ships into like a factory class for dependency inversion. We don't want this to be dependent on these. We don't want this class to be dependent on these classes. So because it doesn't care what type of ship it is. The fleet. It's just creating ships. So what we're gonna do is kind of like have an I settings, um, and it's going to pass every time anything is created. It's going to pass these settings and stuff, and then the actual miner itself will take the settings it wants. So we're going to be creating some classes here to deal with this, and this allows me to extend because the fleet doesn't care what it's creating. Each individual class cares about its specific stuff. We only instantiate this once, and we're going to do this with a dictionary and an enums. So I'm going to get started on we're going to have two big static classes of, I just call them statics and enums. And enums are going to exist outside of a class. So here, we're going to create enums here. It's better than a list because lists have an index of numbers, but I don't want the index to be numbers. I want the index to be some kind of list that I create. So this is going to be ship types, and then where we're going to be giving out. I didn't even think about who would it have to be. We're going to have to do like a ship setting in this class. This is something I need to think about. Well, maybe we don't need a dictionary. Just call it ship settings. Let's put in the fleet. Ship settings. It's not a bond behavior. It is a class though. Or I guess we can call it ship configs. But it is ship settings. So what we need here is a public. We need to create delegate. So let's go ahead and create just like we did for enums. We're going to store all of our static delegates. Because basically, when a delegate is it's basically a variable that has a method in it. In C++, this is basically what a pointer is. It's not right. Is it a void? No, we need an int. Aha. New to game space. Perfect. Okay, so we have our delegate here. So we have our. It's going to return an int. It's going to be. Resource manager mining, and it just requires. So anything that has this as the here can be created. So we can go to the fleets, and we can resource manager mining. Let's actually put it inside of the ship settings. So here, so we have a public resource manager mining. So this is a type, and we'll just say miner settings. Okay, so that's our delegate here. And then for the fleets, we're going to create a new resource or ship settings. It's called config or ship config. Alright, so when we create this, we have the resource manager in the fleets, which is here. So we'll say the ship config dot miner settings is equal to resource manager dot mining, and that should be right. Oh, we need to create a new class. So ship config equal to new ship settings here, and we need to do it after. We need to do this after we've instantiated the resource manager. Yeah, that works. Whatever. Okay, so we have our ship config now. So when we go to the, let's go in here. Where's the mothership? So the miner, like we need to pass the ship settings of config. And same thing for the mothership. The mothership I mostly closed. So ship setting. So the fleet's not going to see this. So we need to create another thing of configuration. So public void configuration, and then we're going to say the ship settings of ship. So now these both need this, and in this is where we'll get our configuration. We don't need this here. Okay. And then for the miner, we can store the delegates. It's like I don't know if I want it in the interface, because the interface is what other people are using, or what other classes are going to be using. So we're just going to put it here. We do need to store this. So public resource manager mining method. Mining method. And then mining method is equal to the config dot miner settings. So then for each ship, it'll pick out the thing that it wants, if that makes sense. Okay, so now that we have access to the mining, when we update, first off, the fleet needs to register to the miners to let them know that resources have changed. So collect resources. So public event action. Do I need to say event for action? just say action? Or ship health? Yeah, whatever. Okay, let's go to the iMiner. So we need a public next action. It's going to return int. This is how much resources we collected when we mined. So we need to resources collected. I think that's it. That's all we need, right? So the miner has it's an iShip and an iMiner. Let's get all this up here. This doesn't need to be public, it can just be private because nothing else is going to be using it. And this stuff will be, I mean, it's just here. Okay. This is basically everything we need. So, we need to start mining. So, when we come in here, so mining, max mining timer, let's say is equal to 5. And then mining timer is equal to 5, or equal to max mining timer. Okay, and then our recalibration time is equal to 20. Let's just say. And then we need to make, we need to put all these constants into one place so that we can, when we're ready to start balancing, see what feels good as far as all these numbers. We only have one place to go and change it. And in mining strength, let's just say equals 10. Okay, so this is a calibrate here, and then we also need to know from the resource manager whether there's an asteroid or not. Or actually, no. I wonder if it would just be easier to pass the resource manager to the miners. Yeah. So at this point, I think probably that we would have to have like a static event. So asteroid exists. This might just need to be static. So that anyone can access this. Okay, so let's think about how we're gonna do this. Because it's gonna keep trying to mine. It can get 0, which is fine, but we're not using this recalibration timer. Because once we get a new I guess we could do a boolean here. So public private bool is there an asteroid? I'll say, is there an asteroid? It's true. Let's skip the recalibration for now. I need to do some design to figure out how exactly I want to do that. It doesn't have to be in here. We just kind of want this to be dumb. I don't want to add booleans right now. So, anyways, where's the fleet? resource timer out. And let's go ahead and take this. And you still need to do the configuration of these two. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and put this here. So it's not resource timer, it's going to be mining timer. And then we are going to, so instead of this, we're just going to have a temp. So int resources mined. And this is going to be our delegates. So we're going to pass in the mining string. And we're going to mining method. Oh, is it passing a float? Does it return a float? Sure, whatever. No, it does a... Oh, this is a float. This is an int. This is a float, okay. Just say int. Okay, so then we have we're firing off the method here, and then we need to send it off with the resources collected. Invoke resources mined, and we could just do this. Looks ugly, but we don't need this temp variable. So we're going to fire this off, it's going to return the int, and then we're going to invoke that and pass it to resources collected. Let's go ahead and fix that. Mining timer equals max mining timer. And this is part of the iMiner interface. It's a float, so let's call it. Okay, we're good here. And then for the UI, now the fleet needs to access this. Alright, so how do we return, how do we let the fleet know that resources were collected? Because in the fleet, doesn't have the miner, so we need to update this. So how do we have access? We probably have to give it a func. So yeah, I'm basically ready to create a factory for this so that we can get the ship configs working. We'll probably do that once we start creating that. So the problem is right now is that the fleet's not supposed to know this is a miner. So how do we have the fleet resources update to the resource management? I mean, we could move this to the resource manager, which would actually make sense. Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and rename this. Asteroid resources changed. And this is going to be no max asteroid resources. This is going to be current asteroid resources. Yeah, I think we're just going to hold the fleet resources in here, and the fleet can ping the resource manager, say, hey, do we have enough resources to build? And now I'll make the fleet agnostic to ship types, and we don't have to type sniff. So let's go ahead and move this to the resource manager. Put this over here. Fleet resources. This is going to change to the resource manager. Then our info bar UI is going to just to the RM. And then this is the RM. Good. Okay, so when we mine, so every time the miners cycle, they're going to call this. So instead of returning, we're just going to call this a void. So we're not returning anything. We're going to deal with it here. So this is just going to be return. We need to change the iminer. We need to change the delegate. This is no longer, this is a void now. And the iminer does not have that, so the delegate needs to change here. We don't need this resources collected. We just mine. So we can get rid of this. And get rid of that. Get rid of this. And we just fire off this. Okay. Okay, so the miner's done. All good. We are going to update the UI. I probably just have a mining timer as it goes. So we're probably just going to put something for the UI to hook up there. Unfortunately, it's going to have to know it's a miner though. So, like, how do we know that we have an iminer and not something else? So the UI might have to type sniff, which is fine. I'd rather do it there than anywhere else, since it's not changing anything. Alright, so if there is not an asteroid, we just return it, we don't care. If this is for the UI. Okay, so then instead of returning, we're going to fleet resources plus or equals to the resources to be collected. And then this changes. And then we also need to fire off the on resources changes. Invoke fleet resources. Okay, so let's put this back to 1,000. And let's see if this works. Yeah. The miner is only going at 10. Oh, we didn't do the config. So mothership m is equal to mothership. And then the m.ship config configuration. We need to send the ship config. We don't really need it for the mothership, but it's fine. Let's just do it for the miner. This is kind of temporary anyways. So miner m is equal to new miner, and then m dot configuration, and we're going to send the ship config. And then we're going to add m here. And then this we're going to be putting into another factory class that handles any kind of creation of ships. And so that this only cares about ships, and does not care about miners and all that stuff. Yeah. So but the UI still needs to know that it's a miner. So we are going to have to find a way to. I mean, typesetting is not too bad if it's just one place when we're creating the ships, the ship UI prefabs, so that it knows what to listen to. So I like that idea better than put it here in Fleet. So, all right, I think we're good. Yeah. Okay. So we need to do the ship configuration before, because it's not. It doesn't exist. All right. So this should work. Fingers crossed.